Really appreciate Myles Garrett for joining us. We covered a ton of topics on Kirk Cousins, Desmond Ridder, Rondale Moore, Arthur Smith, and more. If you haven't seen it, go check it out on our YouTube at Sports Talk ATL. But one of these things I really want to discuss is this Desmond Ridder trade because I think it's particularly intriguing. Now, I have a little theory. I know Myles said Terry Fontenot talked to Desmond Ridder during the draft process, and he was the guy that really stuck out to him. And I understand the intangibles were there, but it is a little bit, I think, giving you a peek behind the blinders that he was traded right after Arthur Smith was fired and went to Pittsburgh to be their offensive coordinator. I think it was very clear that Arthur Smith was the guy that kind of, did the bidding for Desmond Ridder to be the starting quarterback and not really give him any competition. Named him the starter without any competition before the season started. Everyone knew he was going to be the starting quarterback in Atlanta. And when you saw those results on the field, you wondered, why the hell did you do that? Why the hell did you put your job security in a third-round picks basket who had proven absolutely nothing? Obviously, that's the reason Arthur Smith is no longer the coach today. And now Desmond Ridder has been sent. Now, the intriguing aspect of it is the fact that Desmond Ridder, as on a third-round pick salary, was a cheap backup. Yes, he's not a starting caliber quarterback. I don't think anyone's arguing that sitting here today, but he is a serviceable backup. I mean, you could make the argument that he's a better option than Taylor Heineke as a quarterback if you need a win in a pinch, at least from what we saw last year. I think there's definitely an argument that could be made that he is deserving of that job, especially at a $1 million price tag when Taylor Heineke might cost you $7 million. But then you see the trade compensation. Now, we saw Mac Jones get traded for a sixth-round pick, a guy who was a Pro Bowler who showed that he had some chops in New England. Now, obviously, things went downhill. I think you can put a lot of blame on the personnel around him, the coaching staff around him, switching offensive coordinators, having a defensive coordinator as your offensive coordinator. He was traded for a sixth-round pick. The Falcons, for Desmond Ridder, get Rondale Moore, who was a second-round pick 3 years ago. Now, he hasn't lived up to the status of a second-round wide receiver. I don't think anyone in Arizona would tell you differently, but this is a guy who did catch 40 balls. He did have 350 yards receiving. He did have 180 yards on like 28 rush attempts on the ground. So this is a real player. Oh, by the way, he's 23 years old. And I think it's so intriguing when you talk about this receiving core that Atlanta's building that really is starting to have some depth. Darnell Mooney was catching passes from Justin Fields, Andy Dalton, Nick Foles. Those are three pretty bad quarterbacks. And there's a reason why he only had 500 yards receiving in the last two seasons. Rondale Moore was playing with a backup quarterback in Arizona, a different quarterback, it seemed, every single week while Kyler Murray was out for the season. Well, there's a reason why he wasn't exactly putting up Pro Bowl statistics or living up to that second-round status. Obviously, the Falcons have a couple of their own guys. Drake London, despite being a pretty damn good wide receiver to this point in his career, has caught passes from Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder. Kyle Pitts was a Pro Bowler that looked like he was going to be an absolute superstar. I mean, you talk to Greg Olsen, you talk to all these Antonio Gates. There were so many people that came out after Kyle Pitts' first season and said, that guy's the guy. That guy's going to be the next best tight end. He might go down as the best tight end ever. I mean, that was the conversation we were having after year one. Now, injuries, inconsistent quarterback play, Desmond Ridder, Marcus Mariota, all of a sudden Kyle Pitts is pissing off fantasy owners everywhere. I think that changes this year under Kirk Cousins because now you got a quarterback that is really known for one thing, and that's getting his guys the damn ball. This was a guy that was on pace for 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. Now, the Falcons may not have Justin Jefferson sitting in that locker room, but they have all the weapons they can need, and I think all of these wide receivers, Rondale Moore, Darnell Mooney, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, whoever else the Falcons get in the draft or free agency, have to be sitting here today just happy as hell. I mean, Rondale Moore, I get Kyler Murray was coming back, but Kirk Cousins is a different beast when it comes to getting you guys the ball. I mean, the stats that the wide receivers in Minnesota would put up on a weekly basis. It's insane. And it's not just Justin Jefferson. I mean, Jordan Addison was having a great year with Kirk Cousins throwing him passes. Adam Thielen looked like one of the best wide receivers in football for about 5-6 years, or 4 or 5 years with Kirk Cousins throwing him passes. So aside from the happiness that we all feel as Falcons fans, nobody is happier in the Falcons building than those wide receivers now that they get a chance to play with Kirk Cousins. The other intriguing aspect of the Desmond Ridder trade, it is Taylor Heinicke. What is the move with him? Now, you had Kirk Cousins. He's coming off an Achilles injury. Maybe they felt like they needed a more consistent backup. I don't know if Taylor Heinicke is that. He's definitely had more time in the league to prove that. I don't think anything that he's done in this league has been like, oh, he's head and shoulders better than Desmond Ridder. So if you're willing to ship off Desmond Ridder, who was only going to be under contract for $1 million, I still don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities that they're willing to just cut bait and save that money for Taylor Heinicke, because I don't think he proved anything last year that he was better than Desmond Ridder, really a much better option. I still think he's a cut candidate, which a lot of people might not agree with. I still think he's very much a cut candidate, and I think what to watch for, which Miles brought up, was a fantastic point. The Falcons could easily be in the market for I think this signals the Falcons are in the market for a quarterback, and not just a second-round quarterback like maybe Michael Penix or Bo Nix or whoever's available. Spencer Rattler, Miles brought up. A first-round quarterback. If Drake May somehow falls, I wouldn't even count out the Falcons moving up. I wouldn't even count it out. I don't think that's out of the realm of person. It might piss off Kirk Cousins because obviously he wants to win now. Probably doesn't want to see his successor in the building after signing a 4-year deal. But at some point, you got to do what's best for the organization. And Drake May, J.J. McCarthy in the first round, how many times did me and Alex sit up here and talk to you about how the Falcons should double up on the quarterback position? We didn't really talk about Kirk Cousins and doubling up, but that might be the best course of action for fixing this problem for the next 2 decades. I mean, just imagine being like the Green Bay Packers. You go from a guy like Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love. I mean, that's how it's done. Take a page out of their book, get your veteran quarterback, try to go win right now, which is what Kirk Cousins is, and develop a quarterback behind him that can step in 3-4 years from now, like J.J. McCarthy or Drake May. I would really watch for those two, but they might prefer a guy like Bo Nix or Spencer Rattler or something of that matter. Coming up after the break, Mookie Betts finally discusses the famous Game 6 of the 2021 NLCS.